What's going on, everyone? Optimistic Zeke here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Art of Atari book. And with that said, here we go. First thing you'll notice is on the inside cover they'll have screenshots of random Atari games, which I personally think that's pretty cool. There's a few of my favorites in here, like got Berserk over here, and I believe that's Galaxian, among others. And you can barely see it up here, but yeah, that is the Atari Space Invaders bot, which is basically my first introduction to the game. Not a bad port, not the greatest looking compared to the arcade version, but still, it plays very well. So let's go on a little bit further. What's really awesome here is that bear with me, is that they talk about the history at the very beginning of this about the company from their early days as under the weird name Suzuki, man, I can't really pronounce it, to rebranding it as the name we know now, Atari. But yeah, the rest is history, literally. Aside by some of the stories behind the artwork, you actually see like some old flyers and screenshots of games. Like here's one for Pong, which is pretty cool. The to the Atari 2600, which is the game system that we all know and love today, because without it, we wouldn't have the stuff of today. This game system was actually the very first commercial success, thanks to ports of like arcade games like Missile Command, Centipede, Defender, Space Invaders. Yeah, they even end up licensing from other companies, like from Taito for Space Invaders, Namco for Pac-Man, and all of that stuff. Here's a question for you. Has anybody ever heard of this, heard of video music? This, whatever this thing is supposed to be? Me neither. I guess it's the first time for everything. That is pretty cool. Love how the logo looks like that. Yeah, very 80s. Yeah, this book that mainly talks about a lot of the cover art for some of the games, as they show off some screenshots, but like I said, a lot of it's about the cover art. Here we have is some concept designs for the Atari logo that we all know. Here's one for when they were under the old name, Syzygy. And yeah, they also talk about their coin-op games too. Which is one of my personal favorites and my dad's, Pole Position. Well, this is Pole Position 2, but that one's good too. Pole Position's awesome, and this one looks a little bit questionable. It's for a game called Gotcha. I've never tried it, never really heard of it until now, but judging by the artwork, all I just gotta say is yikes. This had to have pissed a lot of parents off. This is pretty cool how they have like random flyers of some of their arcade games. Some of these games I never even heard of. Some I have, like Gravatar, and tell you the truth, the only one that's on to here that I've heard of is Gravatar. Never heard of Grand Track. Never heard of Soccer, Avalanche, or Domino, or whatever the hell that's supposed to be. But it's whatever. Should even have an advertising flyer mentioned in here for the Star Wars arcade game. That's pretty cool. And I don't really have a. I know what Food Fight is. The only version that I've ever played was on the Atari 7800. Never played the arcade version. But oh well. Solar War, never. That's another one I never even heard of. I'm learning about some of these games for the first time. We get into the home consoles too. Here's a box for the original Atari VCS, the 6-switcher. Which looks pretty cool, and they talk about the evolution of the systems. Like we got we got the original 6-switcher, and then they got the 2600, the black version, also known as the Darth Vader model. Then the 2600 Junior, Atari 2800 arcade, video arcade 2, which I've never really seen. Get into the infamous 5200 with the faulty controllers, and then the 7800, which this was a very good. This is actually a very good system, but it was released at the wrong time, as it says underneath. Got the Atari XE, which came out to compete with the NES. The Atari Lynx, which was supposed to come out to compete. The Atari Lynx, which is supposed to compete with the Nintendo Game Boy, and then the final system ever released by Atari, which is the Atari Jaguar, which basically was supposed to be the very first 64-bit system ever, but had like 32-bit processors. So it's whatever. It's an odd story. I'm not gonna go into detail. And I actually find this pretty cool. These 2 pages are basically the very front of the Atari 2600 system box. I actually like that. Yeah. Hopefully someday they'll do an art of the NES book, but we'll see. Then they talk about like a lot of various Pong consoles. Pretty cool. The box artwork, which takes up like quite a bit of the book here. The first 2 pages, they talk about Air Sea Battle, which was an alright game, and Fun with Numbers. Yeah. Indy 500. This is the only game that I know of that used the driving controller, which is a lot like the paddle controller for the thing to play games like Video Olympics and Breakout. Anyway, Starship, that wasn't a bad game. Street Racer, they looked all right for the time. These two games were actually part of the launch lineup for the system. Video Olympics. This is basically like having an interchangeable Pong console for your Atari, so you didn't have to go out and buy one. As long as you had the paddle controllers, you're pretty much good to go. And that's cool that they mentioned the Superman game for the Atari. I love the cover art, but I wasn't really a big fan of the game. Come to think of it, I don't remember ever playing a good Superman game out there. If any of you know of one, can you let me know? Speaking of Superman, I love the artwork they have here. They got one based off the Christopher Reeves movie Superman 3, which I thought was a good one. And yes, even E.T. is mentioned in here. But it's not just the artwork to talk about. This is actually probably one of my favorite parts of this book right here. I'm about to show you in a quick second. They even talk about the Atari dig from back in 2014 in Alamogordo. I actually got to see one of the games that was ever dug up from there at a convention. Um, it was in a bag, individually numbered. I don't know how this dude got a hold of it, but I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, they talk about that event. They have like, yeah, this picture, I swear to God, was in an article from my local newspaper. Even got some more pics from the dig. Got Pac-Man rearing its ugly head in the dirt. Yeah, that is pretty cool. They even have an entire article for Pac-Man. Yeah, that was 26. This, I believe, is the artwork for the 5200, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff in this book. A lot of cool stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here because if I were to go further, if we were to look further in this book, this video would be a little bit too long, and I don't want to spoil everything. So if you come across it, check it out, and also if you have a PS4 or an Xbox One sitting around, I'm pretty sure a lot of you do. Be sure to pick up Atari Flashback Classics Volume 1 and 2. They're $20 a piece. Each of them contain 50 games. So it's like 100 games for like $40. Can't go wrong with that. But I know this is not an advertising endorsement for the game. I'm just throwing it out there for the hell of it. But anyway, that's going to do it for this book review. So thanks for watching, and until next time, we will see you later.